Good afternoon. I thought I would just give you another short update. Was very conscious yesterday that you received a lot of information regarding the senior phase partial return and also the lateral flow testing. So there's just a few things I just wanted to clarify with you and to hopefully maybe answer some of the questions that we've been getting via email. So the first thing is we were given the go-ahead yesterday by the First Minister to bring back some of our pupils who require to be in the building for practical elements of their course in order for evidence to be generated. So not to come back to do prelims, but to engage in learning and teaching where the pupils were actively involved in generating some evidence that teachers could use. So it's not all subjects in the senior phase. Subjects, which include art, where they're going to have to perhaps complete sculptures, paint, sketch, that sort of thing. Music, technology, where they are creating pieces of music, etc. And also technical subjects and various other ones. There's a whole host of them because we offer quite a lot of practical subjects here at Greenwood Academy. Also included in the list are some subjects that we wouldn't normally class as practical, but the nature of the assessment involves the young people having to be in school and working with the class teacher. So subjects such as Spanish and French, where there is a speaking element to the assessment that the children have to do. So we looked at the subjects that were highlighted to us by SQA and we created a timetable, so a 2-week timetable, week 1 and week 2. We had to make sure that we were following government guidelines. So with a school of our size, we're only allowed to bring in, same as everybody else, 8%, which for us is around about 104 pupils at the one time for the purposes of practical work being carried out in school. So right away we could see that, for example, if we've got 200 pupils doing a particular subject area, we're going to have to split that across different sessions in order to not go above our 104 in the school at one time. We're also, quite rightly so, having to follow social distancing. So we're having to ensure 2 metres between pupils in working spaces, in corridors and in the atrium. And again, if we normally have a class size of 20, say, then we're only able to bring in 10 at the one time because of social distancing. We also had to take into consideration that perhaps a pupil was doing practical cookery and was also studying computing science, and so not timetabling subjects for pupils at the same time, where they had to make a decision what subject they were going to and therefore were missing out. So quite a lot of things to consider, and we took that on board and created of our rota, which was communicated to you yesterday. So it's really important when your child identifies the subjects that they are taking and the days in which they are being covered, that they also check the pupil list, because we're only having certain pupils in on certain days, for the reason that I've outlined already. We did that just by splitting the class in two often. So sometimes they might have friends who are in week 2 and they're in week 1. Again, to take into consideration friendship groups was far too complicated. So we went with just taking class lists and splitting them. So that's how we have created week 1 and week 2, and we are due to begin the first day on Monday the 22nd. Miss Greenlees has lettered you already, given some more information. So we're wanting pupils to arrive at the back entrance of the school, not via the front, because our front entrance is for pupils who are coming in for the Key Worker Hub only. So all senior phase pupils who are coming in for practical subjects to take part in generating evidence have to enter via the back door. We're also we're not running our school timetable, we're running blocks of learning. So the first block of learning will run from 9 o'clock until 12, and the second block of learning from 12:30 until 3:30. which means that pupils will be in one area of the school and will not have to travel from one side to the other. So if they're in school to do higher French, they will be in the modern languages department for the full block of time that they're in. If pupils are allocated to be in the morning, then they've got to leave school straight away after their lesson, and it might be that they're not in the afternoon. So we wanted just to clear up a few things around about that. We've received some emails as well just about, my child is studying history, why are they not coming into school? It's for the reasons I've explained. It's only subjects where we require practical elements of courses to be taught. So like practical woodworking, we can do online learning, we can keep the children going, but they have to actually create a model and they have to be engaged in the practical element of that in order to complete their course. So that's why Scottish Government have decided that it's only practical subjects that require practical assessments that are coming back first. Any questions about the timetable, then please let us know. We'll be taking registers every day, and so if your child is absent, you'll be notified in the normal way, just to say that your child is absent from class, because it's really important that they're here. We're trying to maximise the learning and teaching time, so that's really important. PE is a subject where, as you would imagine, there's a practical element to that. But at the moment, PE is not on the 2-week timetable. And that is because, after a lot of consideration with the PE department and speaking to Mr. Cockrell, we made the decision that because of the guidelines, the government guidelines and the constraints around about that, at the moment, PE can only take place outside and no contact sports are allowed. And so if we were trying to generate evidence for one-off performances, that would be really difficult to do with the constraints there. So it could be, if things are lifted and eased, that we then add PE and all subjects associated with PE to the timetable. But at the moment, PE is not on the timetable just because of the constraints. We've also highlighted the importance of social distancing, and I'll send out a video to our young people as well. But, it's really important that they observe the 2 metres in school, in the atrium, which is sometimes more difficult when they're meeting up with friends, etc. So that's why they're coming in the back door. They will go straight to their working areas to avoid the congregations. We're asking them to arrive at school for 9 o'clock and try not to come into school beforehand. So the social distance is really important. The wearing of masks as soon as they enter the school building is really important as well. We will be handing out masks, but we ask young people to wear their own where possible, and without exception that they're wearing them unless they have an exemption card. We already know the pupils who have exemption cards, and I would ask all pupils to bring their exemption card in their lanyard to school. If they've lost that for whatever reason, if they can contact a guidance teacher so that we are aware that we're needing to hand out another one, because there will be a requirement for them to have that on their person throughout the time that they're in school, so that teachers know that. I also lettered yesterday about the lateral flow tests that are available for young people, and a further letter went out today about when these tests can be picked up. Public Health are quite happy that the tests are picked up the first time that pupils are in school. And at the moment, if your child is in the senior phase and they're not in for any of the practical subjects because they're not in the rota, there is no reason for them to pick up a test at the moment. It's only for those young people entering the school building for that particular reason, or if they're in the key worker hub. The way that we have organised it is, if your child is in school on the 22nd and the 23rd, there is an opportunity at the end of this week for them to pick up tests if they want them in advance. They've got to stick to the allocated times. If they're in on the 24th and 25th, that's the Wednesday, Thursday for the first time, again there's time allocated at the beginning of next week for them to pick up their tests. And they would come in for the sole purpose of picking up the test and then go in. Anybody who can't make it to pick up a test, not a problem. They pick it up on the first day that they are in school, and Public Health are happy with that. The box that they'll pick up will have 3 tests in it. And what we're advising is if the first day that they're in school is the Monday, for example, that they would either test on the Sunday night or the Monday morning. It takes half an hour for the test to develop, and they would log their results on the link that was on the letter. So they would log whether it was negative, void, or whether it was positive. If positive, obviously they're not coming into school, and they would be going and getting a test booked at a test centre carried out by medical professionals. If the test is void, they log the void result and they take another test because it's maybe just not done properly. Given that it's negative, that would be logged again, and then they would come into school. And then they just do the testing after the first time 3 to 4 days later, and they keep that rolling programme going. They'll get 3 tests, and then obviously we will issue more tests in the future so that the programme can keep going. We're likely to be working in this sort of way with this rota until the 15th of March. There'll be another government announcement in 2 weeks' time, and that will tell us whether we're bringing more pupils into the school, who we're bringing into the school, and at the moment you have as much information as we do about that, and quite rightly so. The government have to look at what impact it has bringing young people into the school and staff back into the building. But we will be following the measures that we had in place before. We'll be wiping down surfaces, we will be using hand sanitizer, and young people will be wearing masks and observing the 2 metre distance. That includes the lunch queue and in the corridors as well. And we'd ask our young people to be, as responsible as they possibly can on the way into school, and not necessarily, fair enough, they're outside, but not being too close to any other individuals, so that it keeps us all safe moving forward. I am going to offer an opportunity on Thursday evening, which I will communicate later today. If anybody wants to, come on to a session to ask questions about the lateral flow testing, I can give you more information about that.